Hi, my name is Kush and I'll be your Java instructor for this session. I hope you have already watched my previous session where I already discussed how you can install IntelliJ or how you can do the basic setup in your system for running any Java application or Java code. And I also discussed in one of the sessions the few basics of the Java. Let me just open that document. Yeah, this is perfect. So I already discussed how to install JDK, how to set environment variables, and how to install an ID. We are basically using IntelliJ IDE for this course. If you are comfortable with any other, you can use that. No issue with that. We also discussed how the internals of Hello World program works and all the things that you should know. We have discussed so far sout comments. I also discussed string in my previous session. Then we discussed how can you take the input from the user. So I discussed can you take input from the user using scanner and buffer reader. So if you remember, previously I had built a Q&A application, something like that. It was exactly the same. And while running this, I ran into a problem, which was very evident, and I thought to explain it into this session because I knew that it is going to take some time. If you have seen the previous video, I ran into this issue and then I solved it by doing something that might have caused a little confusion in between you guys. So I will explain that in this session. That would be the first thing that I'll do. We'll dig a little deeper into scanner, how it works and why we got that issue there, and how we solved it, and what are the other ways to avoid that issue or to solve it. Then we'll discuss buffer reader a little more. I already showed you buffer reader in the previous session, but that was very, very precise. We'll dig a little more deeper into buffer reader because I will really recommend to use buffer reader rather than scanner because of the multiple regions. I'll discuss what are those regions. We have discussed already the Java data types, so I'm going to put it here because we have already discussed it. Once we are done with the scanner and buffer reader, we'll discuss the other things like if else comparison and loop object and classes and all these things, right? So that's the agenda of today's session. Okay, let's go to the IntelliJ and let's see from where we left for the last time. I ran this application. So we built a Q&A session. I hope everything till this point has been clear to you all guys. So I built this Q&A where we have some questions and I have to give answer to these questions, which is something like what is your name? Kush Verma. Great. What is your age? Let's say it's 23. Then where do you live? Uh, Gorakhpur. Then this is working fine. This so if I will you if I comment this part. So if you don't have any context of this code, please watch the previous video. You'll get the idea what this code is doing and why I'm commenting this. And now I'm going to use place again here now. So now if I run it, I will get the issue that I was getting previously. So Kush is 23 and good. So if you can observe, my cursor is not my console is not stopping to get the input of where do you live. Ideally it should stop after printing this. When it executes this command, it should stop for the input from the user. That is what sc.nextLine mean, but it is not stopping for this. It directly goes to this point and then it prints everything that we have. And because place is not, I mean, it does not take the input in the place, it is not printing anything here. So that is what happening right now. If you want to see, so we have to first debug this, why this is happening, and then I'll explain more. So let's put some debugger here. So if you, I already discussed to debug your Java application, and if you are using IntelliJ or any other IDE, they have this feature of adding debug points or breakpoints you can call. To enable those breakpoints, just to go to the point where you want it to stop, and just do a left click here. You will see this point here. This simply means that your code will start at this point. So I'm going to put these breakpoints at these places. Great. This will help you to debug your code, and when you are debugging your code, you should not run your code, because this will run your code in a run mode. I'm going to run my code in the debug mode. So let's debug. Debugger runs. It executed this statement and then it stopped, because I already had put a breakpoint here. If I had not put a breakpoint, if I remove this, I mean, if I just, this is to resume my program. It stopped here. If I wanted to resume, I can click on resume. It will go to the next point. So I don't need to stop here. This was just to show you. So that's why I'm going to resume my program. It goes to the next line. Now it is not stopping. Why? Because it is executing this line, and this line basically means give some input. So this is stopping from our code, not from the debugger. Until we give some input, it will not go ahead. So let's give an input, which is kush. When I press enter, it will go to this line and print what is your age. This line executed. This, and then it comes to this line. Once this executed, it is waiting for a input from the user, which would be 23 in my case. Then I'll hit enter. This 23 would be loaded to this age variable, and then it will execute this line. And because it has debugger point here, before executing it, it will stop. So let's hit enter. Great. So before executing it, it stopped. If I'll do resume, it will execute this line, and then it will stop here before executing sc dot next line. Okay, let's resume. So now you can see this should execute sc dot next line, and then whatever. So ideally I should input something here. So in our code, when it was running, it was not stopping. Right now it's stopping, not because of the code, but because of the debugger, right? So even if I do give input something here, let's say I give here, ideally this should be loaded to place, and it should come to this point. Also, if you wanted to see, I'll just resume it. Okay, so it ran this code, it come to this line. So if I wanted to see what do my place have, just go to the place and hover onto it. You can see the values for any variable like age. You can see the value 23 has been stored here. Name has kush, but place has empty string. Ideally it should have this string. It has empty string. So that's the issue. It is not storing what we are writing. I mean, what we are giving, it is not storing here. Why? Because it is not even expecting an input from the user. It already have these empty string that it stored into the place rather than storing this string. So before, when I was running so just to make it clear, uh, i will I will stop this and run it again. And now let me explain the whole thing. So it comes to this point. I'm running it, not debugging it. So I give kush, I give 23. It will, then it should ask for my where do I live, and then I should input where do I live. But it already has empty string available for place. So after printing this, it will assign empty string to place, and it will not stop for me to give input. I hope you guys are getting this point. This is a little complex, but try to understand it. If you're not understanding it, just watch it one more time. So when I hit enter, basically it should read this, and then when it execute this, it should stop for me to enter something to store into place. But because it already have empty string available that will be saved into place, it will not stop here, right? And it will go to the these things, and it will print the values. Now the question is, how and why it has empty string available, which it is assigning to place. Okay, so I hope you guys got the problem. The problem is, it is assigning empty string. Somehow empty string is coming into our code, which is getting assigned to place, and then it moves forward. So it is not stopping for me to input, and because I'm not able to give input, it is not storing anything to place. Even if I give the input, it is storing empty string, because that has been assigned already before giving my input. So how this is happening, why is this issue is coming in? So for that, you need to understand the internal working of scanner. So let's dig a little deeper into scanner, how Nextline works. So I already discussed it in previous lecture, but let me discuss it again. So when you do sc.nextline, how it works, let me run it again. So it printed this. Now it executed sc.nextline. Now what sc.nextline is expecting, it expecting some input from the user. When I do kush and press enter here, when I press enter, it will read everything before my new line, or the separator before enter. Whatever I already inserted or written into my console, it will be read by scanner, and it will be assigned to name. So when I do enter, it will read kush. It will not read the new line or the enter part. It will read only the enter is basically /n, if you already know. So in the programming language, a new line character is /n. If you give /n, it will print a new line character. So ideally it should read kush/n, but that's not how next line works. Next line already knows that I'm going to print /n. So it reads everything before /n, before enter basically, and it assign it to name. And then it advances my cursor after /n. So now now if I enter age, it will not read /n and then what I input, like right, like something 23. Now if I press enter, it will not read /n 23 /n. No, it will not work like this. So after next line, my cursor is here. Now whatever I enter before hitting /n, that will be assigned to this age. So age will have 23. Now the issue with next int is, it does not advance my cursor to go after new line. I hope you guys are getting my point. It does not advance my cursor to go to the new line. If it would have been next line, then this issue would have never been come, because I'm using next int in between next lines. So this read 23, which is assigned to age, but it does not advance my cursor to here. So in my scanner or in my input stream, it already have this empty string. So for now, it consider this as a empty string. And when I enter now, so because I already have empty string, which passes to the next line. So what next line do? It will read everything from where the cursor is to the next thing, because I already have /n present. So it will not, so it assume that I entered it, or this is input from the user, and it will load this empty string to the place. And because place has got an empty string, it will be loaded. uh, I hope you guys got my point. So the so let me explain this one more time. How next line works? It reads everything before and after the new line. Clear? So once I have written 23, it is assigned to age. Then I pressed, then I entered new line. Now my cursor has not been advanced after new line, it is present here only because next in does not have the feature to advance my cursor after the next line. So my cursor is here. When it comes to place, it sees that I have a new line here. So it reads everything before new line, which is nothing but a empty string. So between 23 and slash n, it has nothing, right? It has nothing. So this is basically a empty string, which is this. So that got loaded to place. So that's why it did not stop for my input. It takes this empty string as an input because I already have a breaking point here available. Next line knows that I'm done with the input by recognizing this slash n, and because I already have slash n, it took the input whatever is before available before slash n, which was this empty string. So that empty string got loaded to place and it moved ahead. So that's why I'm getting this issue. I hope you guys understood this part. This is a little tricky, but I tried to explain it in as simple way as possible. If you guys still have any confusion, please post into the comment. I will try to reply into that, and if there is, if I'll see so many confusion into that, I'll explain it later also in the next session. But for now, I hope you guys got the idea. Because of the behavior of the next line and next int, these two have very different behavior. Next line advances my cursor after the new line, but next int does not advance the cursor. So I changed my line, but the cursor has not been advanced, which is read by place. So it loaded the empty string and it did not stop for the input. So that's why we were facing this issue. So that's the problem with the scanner. Now how can you avoid this? You can avoid this by two ways basically. One that I already did in my previous session, I wrote one more next line, which was I you can just wrote a dummy next line basically like this, and then what you wanted to load that comes after this. So now that empty string will be loaded here, and so if I write a dummy next line, so now after 23 this empty string will be loaded to city, and this next line will advance my cursor to the new line. Now when it comes to city, it will stop and it does not have any slash n after this, so it knows that it should wait for the input. So now I'm able to give input as Gorakhpur, and then that would be loaded to city, and then I can use my city here. So if I use this, now it works fine. As you can see, it is stopping here and it works fine. Great. So this is the one solution. You can write a dummy next line that consumes the remaining dirty read basically, and consume it for your next input. And even you don't need to create a variable here, you can just do sc.nextLine. That will also work because we are not using this variable, right? So just give sc.nextLine. That will just consume your empty string and advance your cursor to the next line, and you are good to go with to read the next input. So that's the one way to avoid one way to avoid skip scanner issue. So you will face this issue every time if you are using sc.next sc.nextInt, sc.nextLine after something sc.nextInt or sc.nextFloat or sc.next character, these things, because these sc.next sc.next uh, other than sc.readline, no other no other command advances the cursor. So all these next 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 byte or next double, next float, next int can cause these issues. So if you are using next int, you need to advance your cursor so you can consume it by the next line. So that's the one way to avoid this issue. What could be the other way? The other way could be don't use next int. Now you will ask, then how will I input an integer? Good question. So if you avoid reading next int, I'll say use next line. Use next line. Now the question is, next line means I'm reading a string, and a string can't be stored into the integer, as it is saying provided string required integer. Great. So I'm getting a string, I know that. Now to assign it to my integer, I will convert it to the integer. So to convert, you can parse your string. So all the strings could be passed to other data types like integer, double, float. All you need to do is integer.parseInt for integer. For double, you can do double dot parse double. For long, you can do long dot parse double, right? Long dot parse long. So that's how the parsing works. So it will not do anything. It will just convert your number which has been coming as a string to a integer. That's all what it does. So if we use this, in that case, because we are using next line, every time our cursor will be advanced to the new line, so the issue will never come. So just to avoid the issue, you can use this way also. Push age is 23. So this will read as a string, not as a number. 23 will come as a string. Then it will be converted to the integer by integer.parseInt, and then it will be assigned to age. If I'll not use integer.parseInt, it will basically give me error because I will try to assign 23 as a string to the age. Right? It will come like something like this, 23. Because it is in double quotes, it is a string. When I do integer.parseInt, it will convert it into a number, which is 23. I hope you guys got this point. Right? So it will work. Okay. So this is how you can avoid this scanner issue. I hope you guys are clear on that. So these are one of the reasons why a lot of people avoid using scanners, because when you are doing this is not something that is very evident, and you might get into this issue and you might waste 1 or 2 hours by just debugging this issue. So just to avoid these problems, not a lot of people use scanner. Also, scanner is very much slower than buffered reader, so always use buffered reader before scanner. I mean, don't avoid using scanner, just use buffer reader. So let's see how we can use buffer reader. Yeah. So I hope you guys got the issue with the scanner. Let's use buffer reader. So just to use buffer reader, I already told you, you don't need to do something else. You just need to follow the same logic. You need to initialize buffer reader first with some variable, and for that you need to create a new object, and then you need to take the input. There is just different methods to take input, but this is what we are going to do. Our objective is to initialize buffer reader and then take the input from buffer reader. So let's convert this same program into the buffer reader. So at the place of scanner, let's comment this. I'm going to initialize a buffer reader. Buffer reader br equals to new. That's how you initialize a buffer reader. You will give a new input stream reader here, and then system.in. So that's how so your buffer reader is ready to read. Now to read a name, you will do br dot read line, not next line. It has a different method. As I told you, these are the built-in method, built-in lib. We are using a built-in library in Java, so we have to follow their rules. They created read line method into buffer reader, so we are just using read line. This also do the same thing. It reads the input and then advances your cursor to the next line. Then for age also, we are going to do br dot read line. So it has only the read line method, right? So I mean it has multiple things. Let's see what we have. Br dot, it has these lines: close, read line. So always use br dot read line. That's what is good practice, right? City equals to br dot read line. Cool. So that's how you can create the same application using the buffer reader. I hope you guys have created different versions of this application using your own questions and answers. And if you have created something that you think you wanted me to look at, post that into comment. Post the results into the comment. Don't post the code. Post your dashboard like this. Like you ask this question, just copy that and post it into the comment box, writing that I have created this dashboard. So I'll have a look. So that's how you can use buffer reader to take input. So I already told you, always use buffer reader rather than scanner, because buffer reader is faster. Buffer reader has no issues as such scanner. So these are the main reasons why a lot of people use buffer reader. See, there is no issue, right? So why buffer reader is faster than the scanner? So as I already showed you, scanner has something like sc dot next int, right? So what this means you will input a integer, right? Now that integer will come as a string, and internally scanner will convert it into integer and then assign it to the age, and that's something that is your internal Java has to do, and that will take some time. But when you are using buffer reader, you are converting this same thing into the code only, so that will make your code run faster, because in the Java internal does not have to work lot in that case. So that's why buffer reader is much faster, and also it uses buffer, so as name suggests. So that's why you should always use buffer reader. It is faster and less error prone. So yeah, that's I think that's what I wanted to discuss into the scanner and buffer reader. I hope you guys are clear on that. So this is all you need to know to take the input. I hope you guys got the idea. Let's discuss the next part. Also, I did not have discussed boolean. Let me just discuss it very. It will not take much time. I forgot it to discuss in the next class. So boolean is nothing but just a data type, same like age, same like the integer and other things. So boolean stores boolean values like true or false, nothing other than that. So let's say if someone asks like some questions like how you can use it, are you married, and I want to store it into the boolean, I can store the response into the boolean. Okay, I don't think that will work. Let's see. I don't know how to pass into the boolean. Let's see if we can do that. Mm, Married status equals to boolean dot pass boolean. Okay, so there is this boolean dot pass boolean bear dot read line. So let's see if that works. And then mm, s out he or she is Married. Yes or no? Okay, let's see if it can pass or not. Kush, age is 23, married. So you need to give true or false. If you give something else, it will not be able to pass. So give true. Where do you live? Gorakhpur. And it works, right? True. Let's see if I give something like yes or no, then what happens? Kush, age is 23, and I give uh, yes. Okay, yes also works. So parsing is very, I mean, internally it must have been converting these yes or no's into the boolean. Great. Okay, so how I think the parsing works, whatever is not able to get parsed will be converted into the false. Only the true will be passed into the true. Anything else will be passed as a false. Just to explain this, I think that's a good point. Let's explain this. Just comment this code so that I don't need to travel that much. So let's say I'm going boolean bool equals to, now to this variable I can assign only true or false. I can't assign yes or no here, right? Because this will just become a variable and it will give cannot resolve symbol like this. Or if you will try to store a string into this, then also it will give provided string and required type boolean. So in that case you can only need to give true or false, and not in this case as this. So this is how you can use, this is how it works into your code. But when you are taking the input from the user, insert insert boolean value. uh, and you are using boolean dot parse boolean. Now it really depends how this parsing works, right? So in that case, if I'll give 2 rather than taking the input from the user, I'm just giving it here because that's what comes inside, right? And then if I print bull here, let's see what happens. It will print 2. If I'll give true all caps, let's see if that is able to get passed. If you can see, whatever I give, it prints true in small letter. That is something done under parsing. So it is getting this input, it is converting it into true or false, whatever input I'm giving. Let's give yes. It converted into false. Let's give 1. It will give error because it will also come false. So anything which is not true is false basically. So this should be false, right? And only this and this is true. Other than that whatever you give will be false. So that's what boolean is. I hope you guys got a fair idea. If you still have any confusion, you can, again, I'm reminding this, post into the comment. I will try to reply as many questions as I can. So that has been a lot about That has been a lot about the scanner and buffer reader. Now let's go a little more ahead into this and let's discuss some logical operators like if else, loops, comparison operators, and other things. So for that, let me create a new project here. Right, just to not use the same code. Just click right click on this, go to new. I'm creating a new module because I want a new module. Next, this is Java. This is lecture 3 basically lecture 3 but session 3, but this is lecture 2 because in the first session I just discussed the whole installation part. In previous session I discussed this code which will be in lecture 1, and this will go into lecture 2. That's why I'm just naming it lecture 2. Don't get confused, this is session 3 bus. Finish. Oh, I I I don't want to create it inside this. Create new module. Java lecture 2. Okay, finish. Yeah, this is coming inside this only. Okay, I basically wanted to create a project parallel to this. I think for that I need to create a new project. Then that not what I wanted to. So let's create a new class only. I think let's create a new package. Right. Let's create a new package here, and I'll create a new class. I will name it basic part 2. Right. So I created a new class just to go with the new things that we are going to discuss. So we are going to discuss how the if else statement works. So if else is nothing but just a conditional. These are used for conditional statements. So let's say you have some case where you want to make a decision in a boolean format. Something like you want to do you want to add if if someone says add, otherwise you want to say hello if someone says hello, otherwise you will say namaste. Let's suppose this is the case. So for such cases we'll use if else where we have a binary problem where we wanted to do this, otherwise we wanted to do that. So in such cases we basically use if else statements, right? So that's the basic idea of if else. I'll not go into the theory. I'll go in more into the how you can use these things and when you should use it, right? So just to use a if statement, let's say I create a string, right? Says, someone says hello, right? If now, okay, also I already told you whatever code you will write, that should be inside a method, not inside a class. So I had this class already. I need to create a method. I'm again going to create a main method here. Just to create a main method, you just write psvm and press enter. That will work. So string, let's I create a string which is hello, and now I'll create a statement. Now the here if statement is where you have to make a decision, right? So I'm saying if says dot equals, I will explain how this equals works. So just to equate two strings, you need to do says, this already have a value which is hello right now. If it is equals to this string, in that case print hello, else print namaste. I think that's how you say namaste, right? So if I run it, okay, I'm running the previous application. So this already have my previous application. So just to load this one into my configuration, I need to do right click on this and to run JBasic part 2, or you can choose from here also. Just to run this, right? So it prints hello. Why? Because says variable has hello string. So this basically equate says dot equals hello. This is the question what we are asking inside the if statement. Inside if, will ask a question, will just write a logic that simply means yes or no, not other than that. It should have has a response of yes or no. So like here only, says dot equals to hello. If it is equal, it will return true. If it is not equal, it will return false. So if statement only understand true or false. So if you are writing some code here or some logic here, at the end it should mean yeah, true or false only. So before giving the result, it will calculate this, it will execute this part. Inside this part, it will equate if says is equal to hello or not. If it is equal, it will come inside this and then skip. If it is not equal, if it will give false, which means basically says is not equal to hello. It will not go inside this, other than rather than it will go to else part. It will go here only. Just to give you a view how it works, I'm going to use the debugger that I already explained how it works. Just run it into debug mode, right? And to make it more this, let's store it into this variable says dot equals hello. Here I will use So as you can see, first this statement runs, it will load hello into says. Now because I had put a breakpoint here, it will stop here before running this thing. So this basically means check this statement, whatever it returns, store it into boolean. So equals operator returns either true or false. If it is true, says is equal to hello, it will return true. If says is not equal to hello, it will return false. Says basically have hello right now. So hello it dot equals hello, which is true. So when I resume it, it will return true, and it will got stored into the bool basically. Great. Now bool has, if I'll hover onto this, also you can see the value here also. So sage has hello, bool has true, right? So this has true right now. Because it is true, it will come here, not here. So if I'll also give some s out and now run it again. So I'm running it multiple times just to make you guys clear how it works. So it will calculate, it will execute this part, whatever it gives, true or false, it will be loaded to bool. It is true right now, it will come here, then it will print this. This will not go now. Now the pointer will not go to, so basically code will run according to the program pointers. So program pointer is here, it is executing this part because it satisfies the if statement, which is true right now. So it runs this, then it will not come into else and then this, it will directly jump to this line. It will just skip this else part because it already executed what was inside the true part. So these are two different statements, they cannot run at the same time. Either this will run or this will run, and that totally depends on the value of the conditional statement. This is a conditional statement. Conditional statements are those statements which has a return value of true or false, right? So as you can see, after this it jumped to this point directly. Great. If you give something else here like hi, oh, I ran it rather than, so it will just print namaste. Why? Because it comes to this line, says as hello. Sorry, I should not change this. Someone is saying hi here. So someone says hi and not hello. It checks hi is not hi dot equals hello, which is false, as we can see, right? So it bool will have false value. Because it is false, it will not come under this statement. Rather than it will go to this part, right? So if I'll run into debug mode, you can see how the program pointer goes. So it will execute this line. It already executed this line because I had not put a breakpoint here. You're not seeing that stopping there. So now bool has false. Because it is false, it will go to this statement directly, it will not go to this point. It will go to this point only when it is true, right? Great. Let's say I want to print something else also here. After hello I wanted to print s out. You can't do that. As you can see, this there is an error. What is a else without if? It is saying that it can't find if here. So inside if you're using single statement, it is fine, this works. If you're using multiple statements here, in that case use curly brace to make your code identify where your if statements ends, right? Same goes with the else. If you're using multiple statement here, right, rather than a single statement, always use curly braces. Let's use Hindi here. right? So that's the one thing you should take care of while using if and else statement. If you are just using a single statement, you can use curly brace in that case also, that will not harm you. But even if you don't use curly brace, that will properly work, that will not cause an issue. But if you are using multiple statements inside if, always put curly braces, right? So this is how if else statement works. We also have so let me just first run this, right? So because it was false, it printed this. If it would have been hello here, it would have printed hello bro, basically. So this is how if else works, right? So we can use if else in multiple, I mean, there could be multiple use of else, if else, right? I just showed you one use case, something like that. Now you can think of different use cases, like let's say I see uh, int a equals to 9, int b equals to 5, then char operator equals to plus. Now if up now inside if statement, always give a conditional statement. If operator, because operator is a character, to with string you use dot equals to equate the strings, if the string is same or not. Other than that with characters, with integers, you use equal equals to operator. It will check if this is equal to of operator is equals to plus, then s out a plus b. So this is an integer a, it will be added to b, because with these both are integer, this will be added to a, this will make a plus b, which will be basically 14. If you are thinking it should be 95, so that's not the case, because integer it, so this plus has multiple behavior. So if you are using it as a if you are giving it between the strings, it will just concatenate it and print ab, or 1 and 5, it will concatenate it. But if you are using plus between two integers, then it will just add this as integers and make it 6, not the 15. So because a and b are integers, it will add it, and if it is not plus, then it will subtract it. So that's the one use case, right? 14. You can create a whole calculator with this, right? If it is, let's say so that's the one other use case of if else, right? And that's how you can use here, you can utilize equal equals to operator. Or if say, you can also use it with greater operator also, a greater b. So this also will return true or false. If a is greater than b, it will return true. If a is less than b, it will return less than or equal to. Even if it is equal to, it will return false. So because 9 is greater than 5, it will be true. And then print, let's say I'm printing a is greater than b. Here I will print a is smaller, or because I can't say it is smaller only, it is maybe equal also, equal to b, right? So if you run it, a is, as you can see, is greater than greater than 5, so it will print a is greater than b. If you will make a as 5, b as 5, let's keep it as 5. So what do you think, what should be printed? So whatever you're thinking, just put it in the comment. I'm giving you like 10 or 15 seconds, and let's run it and see what it will print. So because these two are equal, so a is not greater than b, it will be false. It will come to this: a is smaller or equal to b, right? If you wanted to consider equal also here, so use greater equal. So this is one other operator that we can use. A is greater than or equal to b, and this basically means a is smaller to b, right? If I'll give 8 here, so 8 will become greater than b, so this will be printed. If I'll give 2 here, a becomes smaller than this will come false, so it will come under this. Great. So I think you guys got a good idea about how the different operators works. So if I'll talk about operators, we have different operators. Something like equal is an operator, which basically means if two data types are equal to each other, this is basically used with all the data types other than the string. This basically so you can use it with integers, doubles, floats, but don't use it with the string. I'll discuss why you should not use it with the string. Or with string, use dot equals, which is a method, not an operator. So dot equal operator is one thing. There is this greater than equals to, which basically means either greater than or equal to. There is greater also. There is less also. There is less than equals to. Right? Am I missing any operator? Then there is also not equal to operator. Mm, not greater than not. I mean, not greater is basically means smaller. So there is no operator for that. So these are the basics operator I think that we have. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. No. If I'm lifting, I mean, if I'm forgetting anything, that's just something that is not important basically. And if it is important, we will encounter it while we build something. I will also try to build something today as well, like the previous class. So these are the basic operators. You can also use not equals to. So let's use not equals to. A is not equal to b. If it is not equal, then obviously it is equal to b, right? So 2 and 5 obviously they are not equal, so it will print a not equal to b. If I'll give 2 here, then it should print it will give false. It will give false, so it will come to this statement. It will be print a equal to b. So that's how the operators works, and that's how the if else statement works. So yeah, I hope you guys got a good idea about the operators operators and if else. Also let's see, there is also you can use nested if else. Inside if else you can use if something, and then this curly braces, and then this else something, right? So let's say if a is not equals to b, so let's say I want to say if a is not greater than b, check if a is equals to b, otherwise do this. So if a, so this will just give a is greater than b, otherwise it will give a is a is equal to b, and if these two are not satisfied, then obviously a is smaller than b, right? So if a is greater than b, this then it will print this. If this comes as false, it will come into this else statement inside this. Then it will check if a is equals to the b. If it is true, it will print this and avoid this. If it is not equal, then it will come inside this. Try to dry run these things into your own mind. That will help a lot to understand how these works. So let's say because these are 2 and 2, it should avoid this. Let's put a debugger just to understand how it works. So basically how I am just try running it. It will load this, then it will load this, it will load this. This does not have any meaning in my current code, so I'm just commenting it. Then it will check for this condition, if it is true or false. According to that, it will go to here, or to this, right? So, and then if it comes to this, then no issue, it will just print it and come out. If it is false and it goes to this, then it will again check for this condition. If it is true, it will come to this, otherwise it will come to this. So let's give 3 right now. Let's satisfy the first condition first, right? This, so it will come to this, and then it will not go to anywhere inside, because if it is statement satisfied, it will not go to else. The system will. So as you can see, a is greater than b is printed, right? If I'll give 2, it will check for this. This will be false because a is not greater than b, it is equals to, so it will come inside else and check for this statement. As you can see, it jumped to this. Then because this is true, this will come to this point and it will not go to there, right? When it will be printed, it will then jump out of this, right? It will jump out of if statement basically here, and then there is nothing inside this, so it will come here and it will end this code. So that's how the program pointer works, or program counter works, right? So I think this is about the this is called nested if else. Previously you have seen so this is called nested if else, but this is not something that is not a lot of people use it because of multiple reasons. The same remove if, mm, yeah, right. So you can also put this inside this if statement and just keep one statement inside else. That will also work. Then again, there is something called if else if. This, mm, right? Okay. If a is greater than b, then cool. Otherwise, if a equals to b, then s out is equal to b, else you can again give if else if again also. I'm just going to give else s out is greater than b, right? So there are three checks here. So and also because I'm using a single statement, I choose to use curly braces or not use curly braces. That's totally fine. Unwrap if statement, right? So it will check for this condition. If it works, it goes inside this. If it is true, it will go inside this. If it is false, it goes to else if this statement. It checks else. Else basically means this is false, that's why it comes inside this. Then it will check if this is true, this will come inside this, otherwise this is come inside this. This is called if else statements, right? Else if statements, if else basically. So this is also how you can use if else. There are three versions of if else basically: if else, simple if else, nested if else, and then this else if thing. Right? A is equal to B. That's why this got printed. So this is how if else works, and these are the different operators that I already discussed. If you want, you can create a calculator with just using these if else and these variables and whatever we have learned so far. If else statement, variables, taking input from the user, and operators, right? You can use all these four things and create a calculator. Let's build a calculator, right? I'm going to not delete this code because I don't know if you guys wanted to have a look into this or not. I'm going to just yeah, build a calculator, right? What I need to do, take two numbers, simple calculator, not a very complex one, as input from user. So I'm going to take two numbers as input from user, then take input as what operation uh, they want to do on those numbers, then perform that operation. And there are basically four types of operation that I wanted to. I can either wanted to add those two numbers, or subtract those two numbers, or multiply those two numbers, or divide those two numbers. These are the four things I wanted to do in my simple calculator, or a basic calculator. If you guys have understood the basics, I hope you guys can do this. I'm going to just show this to you, uh, so that you guys get a good idea. I will always try to build something with whatever we learn that will give a hands-on experience of what you have learned and how you can use it. So that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, we are going to take two numbers as input from user. Just take input from user. You can use buffer reader or scanner. I'm going to use buffer reader. New buffer reader, new input stream reader, system dot in. Great. Our buffer reader is ready to take input. Now I'm going to take two integers, int num1 equals to br dot uh, read line, right? This will take input as string. Because I wanted to store it into integer, I need to parse it. Integer dot parseInt. Now while parsing, I can get exception. That's why I need to handle it. I already told you I'll discuss exceptions in a separate lecture. For now, just add exception to method signature. If you'll do that, an exceptions will be added. Those IO exception. I'll discuss this exception part in further session in more detail. For now, just use it. In Now I'm going to take the other input. For that, use br.readline, right? And then take string uh, operator. I'm taking operator as a string in input. You can take it as a different way also. You should think of it that. If you come up with other solution, just let me know. I mean, I can show you that also, but I wanted you guys to think about that. So it is already a string, so I don't need to pass it. That will stored in operator in my operator. Now I have a number, second number, and then the operator. Now if the operator is plus, I need to add these numbers. If it is minus, I need to subtract. If it is multiply, I need to multiply. If it is divide, I need to divide. So let's just create a into int answer, right? So if operator, I already told you, can't use this thing. This is different for string. I'll tell you why you should not use this. You will be thinking these are equal, so just use equal equal operator. No, that will not work with strings, right? With string, use dot equals. I will explain while I already told you string is a very long topic. I'll explain string separately in different sessions. Right now I'm just discussing the basics so that you will start coding. So that's the first purpose of, I mean, that's the first stage where I want you guys to be at. If it is this, then I'm going to answer, or let's name it as result, not answer. Result, right? Result. Result is a plus b. There is no a and b, there is num1 and num2. Great. If it is not equals, then else. If not equals, and operator, you can also use if else and then nested if else inside that. I'm not wanted to use nested because that will not look good, so I'm not using. Also, let's always write your code. I have uh, result equals to num1 minus num2, right? If it is not minus, if it is not equals to minus again, then else if operator dot equals star, then result equals to num1 into num2, right? Else, now I don't have, if it is not plus, if it is not minus, if it is not multiply, else it is, in that case I'm going to do num1 divide num2. Then I'm just going to print result as result. Great. So let's run this. mm, I have not written any statement here, so I'm just going to do s out. I can do, so I'm just going to use it in a little different way. Okay, no, I should not do it here. S out, and now I'll enter what operator do I want. Enter operator. So I'm just giving these messages so that our user is clear what he need to do, right? Because if I'll not give these messages, how will it know what it need to insert? So now it will look good. So enter first number, create. I'll give let's say 9. Enter second number, I'll give 4. Enter operator, I'll give plus. So it just added these two numbers and then given 30. Great. If I'll give 8, second number is 4, and then given star here, it should give 32 to multiply after multiplying this, right? So that's how the basic calculator works. You can just think of something different than just this basic thing. I can give you a few ideas, but just use your own imagination of what can you wanted to build with these things that you learned so far, and try to build something. Always try to build something with whatever you have learned. That will just give you a clear idea of what you have learned. Until you will not use what you have learned, nah, there is no sense. Always try to build with whatever you have learned, even the smaller things, not very advanced. I'm not saying you like build a Tesla or something, right? It's not a rocket science. So just build the basic things. We'll learn this way only. We'll build amazing things in the end of the course, but for that you need to have a strong basics, and that's the one way to achieve that. I hope you guys got what I wanted to say, right? So that's being said about the if else statement. You can, I can do it a little different way. What if just I'm just giving you a hint. What if a user will not, let's say I entered 5 here, 6 here, and then uh, rather than entering plus, minus, multiply, or divide, I enter this. This will run into error, or it will just give me 0, right? So this this does not make any sense. So this is not the application you can use in production. It has multiple errors or bugs, right? So how can you handle these things? I want you guys to think about that. Put it into the comments if you found the solution. Not right now, maybe after 1 day or 2 day. You have a whole week to practice and to think about that. Just do something into this code. You don't need to use anything extra. You can handle this with simple if else. I'll show you into the next session maybe. Just utilize these things what you have learned and build it in such way. If I give something else, it will give me a proper result, like you have I do not recognize this operator, please choose operator like plus, minus, in multiply or divide, something like that. Try to think what you wanted to build, then try to find the issues into that. What are the problems that people can have, your user can have, and try to overcome those issues. That's how you will train your mind to be a software engineer, right? There are programmer that can code, then there is a product developer. You should think about what would be useful for your user, what are the issues your user can face, right? So think about all these things and try to build a something that has very less issues. You have not learned lot of things, so whatever you will that will have some bugs. I'm not saying that it will not have bug. You can build everything with just these four if else and s out, just IO operations this, but you can build something better than this. I'm just saying that. Think of that, and if you can build it, ping me on wherever you want, like LinkedIn, or just email me, right? If you want, if you guys want my email, my email is I am kushvarma at gmail.com. You can send your solution on to my email, right? Just mention the subject, solution to the calculator question. This is my version. I'll have a look. So this is my email if you wanted to reach out, or you can also ping me on LinkedIn. I'm quite available there also. So that's been said. This has been, I mean, a lot of things that I covered in 2FLs. I think that's enough to start with the basics. There maybe there is something that I missed. If I'll remember, I'll discuss. When we'll build, we'll get into the issues, and when we'll get into the issues, I'll keep explaining these things. But this is the basics. Okay, so I also need to discuss break, continue, return. So this will I can discuss only when I discuss the loops. I can't discuss it before discussing the loops. So loops are something that has been remaining. I already discussed the comparison operators, right? Different operators I discussed already. Now we are left with loops, object and classes, functions, methods. Do you guys think I'm just this is very slow, or you want me to go a little faster? Because I'm just trying to explain everything in much wider way or in much simpler way, and also I'm coding right now, so that is taking some time. We are covering very few things, but in very detail. So this is the one way I can pace it up, but that might cause some issues with few people if they were not able to understand. So I think it will take one more session for just to cover the basics. It will take at least one more session. I'll try to finish that into the next session. In the next session, we'll discuss the loops and the object classes, conditional operators, all these things. Should I discuss the loops? Let's discuss the loops. So this is calculator, right? So that's what a calculator is. Let's discuss loops. So as I told you, let's discuss this in next session because it is going to. I mean, I will be able to explain it in parts only, and so try to build something with that. We'll discuss this further in the next class. Till then, keep learning. Hope to see you guys in the next session.